As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
RHOB Bros. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of RHOB Bros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Shooter McGobbles.
McGobbles? Very festive.
McGobbles.
Very festive. Yeah, look, we're committed here. Everybody else is out enjoying their blackout Wednesday, whatever the hell that is anymore. I'm too old for that shit.
Oh, yeah, like the go out before Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah, way too old for that. I got to stay home and brine a turkey and get my stuff together. So, yeah, then podcast, you know.
And little podcast in there in between
podcast
brining and bird, and you got a podcast.
You got a podcast. You got to throw it out there. But we are committed to you. And, yeah, I mean, you got some turkey, you got some mashed potatoes, and you got some broad bros. Or you got some bros and shows. That's going to take a while.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
Well, you know what? We're always broad bros.
We will be broad bros forever. But to those that didn't listen to our, was that OC we said that?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you didn't listen to OC, one, what are you doing? Go back and listen. This will be here later. You can listen to both. You have nothing but time. It's Thanksgiving. You're not busy. But we made an announcement. We are rebranding. We've talked about it for a very long time without actually doing it.
A year?
Yeah. But hey, change takes time. We wanted to make sure we were comfortable and ready. And we have landed on a show name. And we will forever and always be from here on out known as Bros and Shows. Because it reminds us of Boats and Hoes from Step Brothers, and that makes us laugh. And we're simple creatures at the end of the day. So I don't know when it's going to go into full effect. I would imagine within the next week, right? Is that what we plan next week?
I think so, yeah. I think this would just be the funniest bit of all time if we just kept doing this.
And just never change the name. Just the boy who cried wolf over and over again. The boy who cried Bros and Shows.
Well, it's more like if you follow us on socials and you have us in your library on Spotify and Apple, and you see Bros and Shows pop up and you're recently listened, don't be alarmed. It's just
That's the big thing. Yeah, don't run.
Look,
We're
the temperatures are dropping. They're cold. You're cold. Let us in, you know?
What?
Right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No, I don't. Why are you trying to break into people's houses now? This took a weird turn.
Just verbally.
Vocally breaking
Audibly.
into people's audibly breaking into people's houses. There you go. You got it. But yeah, we're not here to talk about that shooter breaking into your house because I'd be terrified too. You see that mustache in the middle of the night? Like, God, that would be horrifying.
It glows in the dark.
That's not surprising at all. Don't take a black light to that thing. But anyway,
gross.
It was right there.
It was.
What do you want me to do? Yeah. But you know, we're here to talk about RHOBH. It is episode number 2 of the first show that we ever covered. So there's a special place in our heart for RHOBH. And it's off to a good start. I'm excited for this season. I like what I'm seeing out of Dorit, which I've never said that before. Nope. But this is a whole different Dorit that we're getting. I'm excited to watch her go toe-to-toe with Kyle, especially after this episode, because of what we're seeing out of Kyle versus what we're seeing out of Dorit. Dorit's going to wipe the floor with her if this is how it continues to go.
I fully understand where you're coming from with that. I will also say it seems like the rest of the cast, whether by prodding of the producers or maybe their own volition, they're getting more out of Kyle than we got last year. And whether it's, I'm not going to say that Kyle is more willing to talk about things, because why would I say that? But it seems like they're pushing the envelope a little bit more. They're showing up at her house, as we saw in this episode, and forcing her to talk about what the hell's going on. And, you know, there's a lot of that going on in this episode with various people. So we're at least getting more out of her, too. Until that completely shuts down, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to listen, see what's going on, because at the end of the day, it does suck what she's going through. We're mad at her for other reasons, but it's not because she's getting a divorce. We want to make sure that that's clear. We understand that that fucking blows, and we're seeing her go through all of this. As long as she's willing to share a little bit and share with her friends, we're not going to complain the entire season.
No, I won't complain about that part of it. I will not complain, but break down the Dorit versus Kyle thing, because in that, I do think she's giving more as far as what's going on in her life. That being said, I think we will always and forever get a polished answer out of her. Oh, it's my Band-Aid. Poppy gave me a Band-Aid.
Cute.
It's got hearts on it.
Did you hurt your decorations up?
No. I got I like those Yankee Candle air fresheners for my truck. Macintosh Apple is my go-to. Well, they have the ones that you like clip to your vent,
Yeah.
It's got that metal tab you got to pull out. I got the worst paper cut in the history of my life. Like, it sliced my finger. I thought it's just
my
annoying.
fingers hurt.
I didn't ask for a Band-Aid. She gave me a Band-Aid. I'm not going to say no to Poppy. Of course I'm going to take a Band-Aid.
I'm assuming you're cooking stuff for Thanksgiving. So, put a Band-Aid on it, pal.
Well, yeah, for that. You know what? Shut up. I don't need this from you. I'm not talking about this with you. What we're talking about is Kyle. And yeah, I think we're going to always get a polished answer from her. I think that she's careful with how she talks about what she is going through, but she's giving us more there. When it comes to the Dorit stuff, I could not disagree more. I think that she is just trying to spin a lost narrative that she's not even sure which avenue she's trying to take. But it will make for a good season, and it'll make for us to be able to talk about stuff. That was the biggest issue last year, is like every episode it's Morgan, Wade, and Kyle. Morgan, Wade, and Kyle. What's going on with Kyle? And it's like, we don't know, and we can't really speak on it. We can just tell you that it's really annoying and irritating us. So yeah, I agree with you. I'll give her credit there. And I agree with you. Watching her go through this, the moments where she's at home and like, Sophia, you coming home? She's like, nope. And she's like, fuck, I'm alone. It's sad. So we will give not credit. We're aware of that.
We're aware. We have awareness of that. And yeah, I mean, I don't remember what I was gonna say. I had a good point.
Wasn't important.
I had a good point too. Yeah. I had
that's
really
a
good
bummer.
point. Really good point. Yeah. You could always just say that though. If you forget something, you just be like, damn, I had a really good point. And then just never say anything.
Oh, I'm gonna start doing that. That sounds like that's a good idea, because I get stuck a lot. And a lot of times it's not that important, as you know. It's usually a stupid pun and I can't land it. And you're I'll just say that. I had a really good point. Really good point.
Really good point.
But let's get into this week's episode of RHOBH. And we start out at the end of the Kyle and Dorit conversation. And we talked about it last week. What you're getting here is Dorit's just fed up. She's finally done, because we've watched a one-sided friendship for years now. And now we got Kyle saying that she's exaggerated the friendship. That's the root of this. That's what was the straw that broke the camel's back for Dorit, because you can say a lot of things, right? She's in her own world, Dorit. Is she the most attentive friend? I don't know. She doesn't appear to be. I think that she likes to be friends with Kyle. And I think that they've had a lot of big moments together. I do think this is a real friendship. We've watched it blossom over the years. So I would imagine that hearing that would really suck, especially when you guys are going through something, especially when you're going through something individually. So yeah, you don't want one of your close friends, even if it's a TV show friend, to be on Amazon Live saying some mean shit about you, like, oh, we're not even real friends. But it goes back to the BravoCon thing, and people pointed this out. Kyle got upset because not the shot was spilled, but it was either take a shot or answer the question. And she went to take the shot, and Kyle knocked it out of her hand. Now, could I see that maybe getting under your skin? Like, I know that she has her shit with Kathy, but for all intents and purposes, her and Kathy are cool now. So this doesn't seem to me to be a reason to blow up an entire friendship and say that we're not actually friends. She's like, that really hurt me. I was really emotional. And Dorit, I guess at some point said, you turn the tears on for the TV, whatever. It's getting crazy now. The point is, it's a lot of ho-hum stuff. It's not really that deep. If you look at the BravoCon thing, that to me seems like it was a joke. It wasn't that deep. But Dorit is the one that pulls it out and says, this is about one thing. This is about the fact that I said you were getting closer to Morgan Wade, and in turn getting further away from me on Watch What Happens Live. You didn't like that. Morgan didn't like that. And that's the problem. And I think that is. I think that was the root. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back for Kyle, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And the timing of all of that makes a lot of sense as well. I think what we saw, and obviously we saw a little bit of this conversation at the end of last week's episode, and it finished over here. I think what we saw over the whole conversation is, and I tried to think a little bit deeper on it, as we try to do on this show, because we are smart boys. It looks like Dorit, coming out of the announcement of the separation and all the things that are going on there, has decided to focus on her friendship with Kyle and take pretty much all of her aggression out on that. Whereas Kyle is past, well, not past all of that, but she's more in the mourning period of her separation and was completely blindsided by this. I don't know what she was thinking. Did she think that she was going to sit down for this first round of filming, if you will, and not have to talk to Dorit? But she looked so unprepared. And nothing she said made any sense. She starts talking about the BravoCon thing. You went on Amazon Live, which, by the way, thanks Lala for making that a thing. You went on Amazon Live and fucking threw Dorit under the bus and said that you guys were never friends. Double down on what you said on the reunion. That is worse than everything that Dorit said. And Dorit was trying to get her to understand that. You said explicitly that we were never friends. I decided to take a shot. And look, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Maybe Dorit just didn't want to talk about it because it is a sore subject. Maybe it's because Kathy's also just as bad as Kyle is. So if she had said, I've got Kyle number 1, Kathy number 2, then that would be a shitstorm from Kathy's point of view. So yeah, of course she's going to try to take a shot and just not talk about it. Just kind of mull it over and just let it go. Who cares? Let's just gloss over it and move on. Instead, Kyle wants it to be a sticking point. That is not nearly enough to go on Amazon Live, to go on the reunion and say that you haven't been friends with Dorit, that everything that you saw on TV is just fake, that you guys were never that close. I don't think that Dorit was the most attentive friend, but I think that they did have a good enough friendship where if Kyle really needed Dorit, Dorit would show up. And that's really what it comes down to, especially with these types of relationships and friendships that we see on these shows. That's a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as you watch the scene play out, and this is Kyle's move, and it drives me crazy because it makes it really hard for the person that's just expressing themselves emotionally to get their point across, because now they feel like they're insane. The minute that Dorit sits down and starts going in, and again, this is a Dorit that's had it. She's fed up.
Yep.
Because of you, Kyle, because of your actions towards her, because of what you're saying about her in the public domain. That's why she's upset. So she's not going to come into this all calm and ready to resolve things. You guys need to hash a lot of shit out. So Kyle's move all the time is this. I don't even know who you are right now. Like, what's going on? She did this with Sutton last year. And it immediately incites anger in the other person because they're like, don't do that. Because now by expressing herself and getting mad, it's validating what Kyle's saying. But that's not fair. She's allowed to have an emotional response. She's allowed to be pissed off. She's allowed to be fed up. And you have to sit there and listen because you caused this by saying the things you wanted to say. Is there some blame to be placed on Dorit? Sure. She took some shots. So get into it. Use this as an opportunity to be like, all right, you yourself, Kyle, are saying there's two sides to this story. So sit there and listen to Dorit's side. Listen to why she's upset. Listen to why she's coming at you. Listen to why she's fed up. But I love this Dorit because Dorit's calling out all the bullshit.
Yep.
She's like, no, you always do this. Here we go. Kyle's going to play the victim. Kyle's going to spin it. This is how it goes with Kyle. So I'm glad that Dorit put her foot down. And I'm glad that she's like, I'm not playing this fucking game with you anymore. I'm sick of it. I'm done. I watched you do it to other people. You've done it to me. No, you're going to hear me out or we're not going to talk. And it blows up. And it's just funny, the lack of self-awareness that Kyle has. And this will come into play later because of the statement that she makes, which is baffling to me. But she does not have any self-awareness. And she says something like, look, this is the hardest 2 years of my life. Give me some grace. Dorit's going through it too. She's had a miserable 2 years behind closed doors that she hasn't talked about. And that, we've discussed that and we'll talk about it more. But if you're going to say, give me grace, then you in turn need to give her grace because she's going through it. You're both in a miserable part of your life right now. And you would think that maybe you could reconnect in a way over the things that you're going through because they're shared experiences. You're both getting separated. You're both possibly getting divorced. Talk about it. Lean on each other. But to do that, you have to sit there and take it for a minute because you've been a shitty friend to Dorit. And if you think she's been a shitty friend to you, fine. Sit there and hash it out. Don't play this stupid game of, I don't know who's sitting in front of me. I don't know who this is. You're aggressive. You're so aggressive right now. That's not productive. You're not going to get anywhere. You guys could find common ground here. And Dorit's not wrong. You're wrong, Kyle. And it's not looking good for you. If this is how the whole season's going to go, she's going to get torched.
Yeah, she's definitely going to get torched. And I don't understand this. And I didn't understand it when she did it to Sutton last year. It doesn't start off in a way that's warranting I don't know who this is right now. You didn't come in. If Sutton last year and Dorit this year had come in aggressive and went after Kyle and started screaming in her face, then yeah, I guess you can say, who the fuck, like, who is this? I've never seen you do this before. It started off civil. It started off with Dorit very nervous, obviously, because she did the hi Kyle, oh hey Kyle, like all of that. You know that she's nervous because you've been friends with her for 9 years. You know what she's like. So you should be able to pick up on those cues and sit down and say, all right, we have to talk about this. You're the reason why she's getting frustrated. Your answers, your reasoning, all of the things that you are doing and completely throwing her entire friendship under the bus. All of those things are warranted for Dorit to get upset and for her to get frustrated with you. And that's your cop out, is just say that and then leave. Like, really? You're going to do that? That's just doesn't seem like, again, now it's pointing to you're a terrible friend. And I hope that Dorit just kind of figures that out and has like some sort of awareness towards the end of the year, looking back on their friendship, saying, you know what, maybe I was there a lot more than Kyle was there for me. And we've said that about Kyle before, about a lot of the women on this cast. You need Kyle. She's not going to show up. She's got her own things going on. You give her an excuse last year for what's going on with Mauricio. That's pretty much what you're going to get. And people are going to start to realize that. And she's going to stand alone. You're going to have people in the beginning of the season that are supportive of you. But if you keep doing this, we're going to see Sutton turn. Garcelle's going to come back from Atlanta. She's probably already turned on you. There's going to be a shitstorm coming your way if you keep doing this. And you had a rough season last year. Apparently, you had a personal rough season as well, where it took a lot of tolls on you. You're going to do it again this year, and it's going to be your own doing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch it play out. And it's interesting that she goes to Garcelle immediately after this conversation. I was like, that's not good. Nope. Because she's going to echo everything that Kyle's saying, because she doesn't like Dorit and she thinks that Dorit is long-winded, and she's not going to sit there and be like, oh, well, why don't you hear Dorit out? She's just going to be like, yeah, that's probably how it went. I believe you, Kyle, wholeheartedly. And again, she reiterates the imposter. I don't know who I was talking to. It's like, you pissed her off and now she's mad at you.
Yep.
You don't get to now paint her like a lunatic. That's not a good way to play the game. It just looks bad on you. You're just deflecting because you don't want to talk about your shit. That's all I'm getting. But I do love the Erika and Dorit conversation. And Dorit's like, I've had it. Like, all I got, I knew this was going to happen. I just got a load of BS. That's the funniest part. If Kyle wants to claim they're not friends, Dorit knows you better than anybody else in the show. She knows how you play the game. So she knows exactly what you're doing. She's going to call you out, and we're all going to agree with her because we've watched you do it season after season after season, especially the last couple of years.
Yep.
You shouldn't have played this game with her. And I'm glad Dorit's standing on her own 2 feet to the point that she's in confessionals like, I don't give a fuck. She's flipping off the camera and stuff. Like, I love this Dorit. I
really thought about changing, because every week, obviously, we do questions and we take a picture. I said that I was going to use the Dorit smoking a cig pic every single week. I still did, but I really wanted. I was thinking about the middle finger. I might change it up a little bit later, but right now, I mean, her smoking a cig in the car last week is going to be the top of the list, no matter what.
That's going to take the cake for pretty much anything.
I'm sure all the weird. All the weird Dorit stands on Twitter that would used to go after us probably changed their profile last week.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Or it's, if not, it's this week. Now it's the middle finger. But we keep going. We get to learn more about Bose, which, my God, she's so interesting and like
incredible
awesome.
Woman.
She's so cool. Like, she was the Forbes #1 CMO in the world. Like, she's in all of these big publications as the best at her craft. That she goes into her backstory, and she's running this. You know how many other housewives we make fun of for having something called the Badass Workshop?
Yep.
All of them, probably. Not Bose.
Ashley and Giselle are taking notes, by the way.
They should, because this is how it's done. Like, I believe it. She's talking to people. I'm like, I would go to this workshop. I was paying attention. Like, yeah, well, how do I pivot? How to pivot? Should I leave Shooter and start my own thing?
Yeah.
No, God. No, we ride together, die together. Bros for life. Come on now. But to the point of her, like, she is the one that inked the deal between the NFL and the PepsiCo for the halftime show. That's massive. And then that guy has the balls to say she didn't hit enough home runs. So she's like, well, fuck you then. I'm going off on my own. She went to Uber, Netflix. Like, she's awesome. And we learn more about the husband in that situation, which is really sad. And as we know, they were getting separated, but they came back together after finding out. And from diagnosis to when he passed away, it was only 3 months. And she mentions her daughter, who was like 4 at the time. I'm curious if we're going to get more of her daughter on the show or not.
Yeah.
But all in all, everything we're getting out of Bose thus far has been fantastic. Like, she's so interesting. This is what you need when you bring a new housewife onto a show like Beverly Hills. Like, Beverly Hills can't be a ho-hum random. It needs to be somebody with some some power.
Yeah, we
And,
need a powerful force in a cast like this. And
yeah.
look, we used to have that with somebody like Erika, but Erika has
Or
toned it
LVP.
down. LVP, of course. Erika has toned it down over the last couple of years, and she's found her role, and I enjoy Erika again. That's what we need, though. We need Bose coming in here and doing that. She has a house that fucking rocks. That Outback area is sick.
Yeah,
Love
Bronwyn, take notes. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
She prepped it. She's got easily, we'll have to do a power rankings of houses. I'm going to have to really search my brain for that one. But right now, in my mind, she's number one because that was one of the coolest houses I've seen on Housewives.
Gorgeous. Well done. Understated and yet overstated. It was
perfect.
Bravo. Bravo. No pun intended. But Kyle and Sutton have a lunch together. And this is my point. And this is so funny to me because, and I'm just going to drop the line now. She says later, she accuses Dorit of having no self-awareness or accountability, which is astounding to me because Kyle is the queen of no self-awareness. Like she does have two
she might
sets
have
of
self-awareness, but she just chooses to ignore it.
Maybe it's that, which is even worse because she is aware of what's going on, but it just doesn't fit her narrative at the time. She doesn't have time for it. She's mean to so many people. She's just flat out mean, and it's a condescending kind of mean because it's more like, I don't have time for you right now. She does it with Sutton all the time. We've seen it over and over and over again where she's just belittling, like demeaning. It's just like, whatever, Sutton. And you see it out of the gate with just a random one-off where Sutton's like, oh yeah, I was down here. I actually got Botox for free from a doctor because I had an Oscars party. So it was right down the street. She's like, oh, you got Botox? How long ago? And she's like, oh, can you tell? She's like, I'm like, what is that? That's so random and just like a little mean comment, which sure, it's not the end of the world, but it's just why. And that's kind of her personality. It's like, meh to other people. And then when they check you, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think a comment like that is something that, isn't foreign on these shows. But for Kyle, who's under a microscope and very highly scrutinized right now based off of last season and how she started this season, those are the types of comments that are going to piss people off because we're not getting anything from you. Why are you going after Sutton? Who cares? But you know what? If you're performing well, if Sutton had gone over and started talking to Erika, started talking to Dorit at this point, and they had said that, we probably wouldn't have even brought it up. We would have laughed when it popped off because Sutton doesn't really care. She lets that roll right off. But when it's coming from Kyle, it's like, oh, really? We're going to do this?
It looks bad. And it just further paints the picture of what kind of friend she is. And that's the whole argument Dorit has. So it seems like you said, innocuous. If it was Erika, we would have laughed. But because it's Kyle and we're scrutinizing her friendship with Dorit and how she is a friend to people in general, that stands out. It's like, why take the dig? Why? When you already know that you two have tension all the time, we're probably going to see tension between Sutton and Kyle down the road this season. It happens every year, usually by Kyle's doing. So I'm curious how that's going to go. But again, it points to what kind of friend she is. Just little digs all the time. But they're talking about the divorce potentially between Kyle and Mo. And Sutton, obviously, her divorce was a little tumultuous. We've heard about that. So she's concerned and she's worried about Kyle, especially because Kyle's talking about the fact that, everything's 50-50. We helped build the agency together. We have seen nothing that points to a contentious divorce. They still get together with the kids. They do go on trips. So when she comes out later and says, we're not the norm, I am inclined to believe that. Now, as Sutton said, when money's involved, shit gets wacky. I believe that as well. I don't think it's wrong for people to be pointing it out. Like, hey, make sure you protect yourself. Just protect yourself. Even if things are going well, just do your due diligence.
Yeah.
But part of me does understand where Kyle's coming from.
I don't actually. So
no,
just based off of what we've seen Kyle do in the past couple of years, I think she's just suppressing. How often have we seen Mauricio just in the news, Dancing with the Stars girl in Aspen, doing body shots behind the fucking DJ booth with
too
Kyle
many times.
Okay? Way too many times. And he's posting thirst traps on his Instagram. There is no way that is not getting under Kyle's skin. I mean, we talk about it a little bit later in this episode when Kathy comes over, but that is definitely getting under her skin. And eventually that's going to add up. And we've seen Kyle let things build up for way too long and then she cracks. So I agree with Sutton here. And it's coming from Sutton. So obviously we take everything a little differently because she is a little brash and she just says whatever the fuck comes up to her mind. I think this is actually a concerned friend. Now, Sutton says in her confessional, does she trust Kyle? Absolutely not.
Good,
But
don't.
this is coming from somebody who has gone through a tumultuous divorce, who's going to tell you exactly how it is. You haven't gone through a divorce before. You don't know what to expect. There's a lot of money involved here. You've got the fucking agency involved. You've got all of these assets. You have all of these things. You have kids still. There's a lot going on here. It is going to get hairy. And I think it's smart for Kyle to understand, yeah, it might get hairy. Don't keep like hiding it and saying, you know what? We're going to rewrite the book on this whole thing. And it's just going to be so nice. It's going to be so easygoing. It's not. It's just not going to be. And you need to prep yourself for it not going well. Because when it does, if you're planning on it going really well, you're going to be blindsided and you're going to be caught off guard and you're going to get absolutely crushed.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that she shouldn't take Sutton's advice and like get her ducks in a row. I'm saying I understand her sentiment. I get what she's saying, but as you just stated, due to we're talking potentially billions. The agency's worth billions of dollars.
Mhm.
So yeah, just have it written down 50-50.
Just have
and
your
make
guard
him sign
up.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But I understand what she's saying. I can see what she's saying. But yes, you're correct. And we move on. We get Bose with Nico, her assistant. They're getting ready for Erika and Dorit to head over there. And I love that we're getting dark-haired Dorit for Dark Dorit season because that's kind of like, that's her shift. And I wonder if that was a conscious choice, knowing Dorit it was. She's like, I'm being dark this season, so I'm
going to go through a breakup. You make some changes.
Yeah, sure. I'm all for it. She looks great. I
Yeah.
like that we have hair to match like this different vibe that she's going on. But we get to see Bose's house. As you said, this is a top contender for top housewife decorated house, I believe. And anytime you break out house slippers, I'm like, oh, this is luxury.
We're in.
If I have to change my shoes into slippers, this is a luxurious place, even if it's not. You could have a trailer, but
even if it's not raining out back and there's a huge flood going on, Sutton. Let me see how many shoes I can drum up here.
Yeah, where's your house slippers? You needed house slippers. That's luxury.
I don't know if that would work in the rain, but yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's all about the image.
Yep.
If I'm gonna buy some house slippers, the next time you come to my house, you got to put them on, and you'll see what I mean. You're gonna be like, wow, this is luxurious.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. You know I will. But they're talking about the Kyle and the Dorit beef, and Sutton gave Bose a heads up beforehand, like, hey, it's a little contentious between these two. They've got an underlying beef. And Bose asked Dorit about it. All right, so what's going on? What's the vibe? All right, what's the beef, if you will? And she's like, I don't know. And honestly, we don't really either. We know in general what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
But as Dorit points out, the story continues to change because originally she was pissed off about Kathy. And then it was the stuff between Kyle and Mo. And then it goes to the BravoCon comment and the shot or rank the Richards sisters. So it has changed. And we get like the quick montage of multiple things being stated of why she was mad. The funniest part is in one of those scenes, she says, I wouldn't expect my good friend. So you're acknowledging on TV that she is in fact your good friend before saying that she's not, that you guys never had a real relationship, that the relationship was exaggerated. So all it seems to me is grasping at straws. And Dorit says the same thing. There is not one singular thing to point to. Dev made a really good point. And she said, and I think I mentioned this last week, I think that Kyle just doesn't want to be friends with certain people and doesn't know how to not be friends with them. I think that's true for Sutton at times. I think that's true for Dorit. So she doesn't even know what to hold on to. She goes, I'm mad at you. I don't want to be friends with you because of this. And then she forgets that. And she's like, oh, it's actually because of this. It's really because of this. We don't know what it is.
That's a good point. And it's one of those funny things too, because we're even struggling getting through this. We're having a really hard time figuring this out. And it's really making our job difficult because we don't know what the hell's going on. Kyle seemingly doesn't know what the hell's going on. We know Dorit doesn't know what's going on. So it's tough to actually figure out what's happening here. And a lot of times you can kind of see through the bullshit. You know that it's one thing more than another thing. In this case, I can't point to one thing and say, oh, that's got to be the straw that broke the camel's back, because her and Kathy have a really good relationship again. They're back to being sisters. They're back to being able to talk to each other. Dorit and obviously, we've got Kyle and Mo. They're still separated, but Dorit's going through a separation. So like those are a couple of things. Don't even get me started on the BravoCon thing. I'd actually really just rather stop talking about it because it seems like such a non-issue that we can't figure out what this is. There's no way to see through the bullshit. So I like the dev actually just popped in with that theory because at least it gives us something to grasp onto. Maybe that's it.
Maybe that is it. Maybe it's just simply that. But Dorit highlights, Kyle came into that conversation thinking, I can make Dorit feel bad for me.
Yeah.
And that is her move. And that's what she does. And you see it in the scene. She's like, I've had the worst 2 years. Like, give me some grace. Like she does. She tries to garner sympathy so that you just move on and you squash it. I don't have time right now because it's been so hard. Again, look at what Dorit's going through. And you want to say that last year was so hard for you? Fine. She was held at gunpoint.
Yeah.
We can actually use that as evidence now because we like to, make the joke about, ooh, who knew? But if we want to play the game of she's going through it, Dorit's going through it too. She's been hiding this marital problem that she's had with PK for years now, apparently.
Yep.
Like she also is going through it. So if you're going to play that, I've had a tough 2 years. She was held at gunpoint and is going through a separation similar to yours. So it's such a similar situation. I think it's bullshit that she's trying to use the woe is me card with anybody, with Dorit specifically. If it was somebody else, I'd be like, all right, fine. But this is a bad example because she can play the Uno reverse card and say, yeah, bitch, me too. So what's the problem? So I'm glad that, again, we don't see a Dorit that's just giving in. You see a Dorit that's like, I know this game, Kyle. I've watched you play this game. I've stood by you whilst you've played this game with other people. You're not going to do it to me anymore. Go fuck yourself. Hell yeah. We love this Dorit.
Yeah. And honestly, like all of those are indicators of Kyle doesn't give a shit. Kyle does not care about what you're going through.
Yes.
So I believe her when she says that you guys weren't that good of friends. That's, you're giving me evidence now that shows me you don't care about it.
According to Kyle, you weren't that good of friends. According to Dorit, I believe she thought you guys were best friends.
Yeah. And look, I think Dorit just kind of ignored a lot of that and maybe just thought that they were friends and didn't really think anything else of it. It's just crazy to me that that is pretty much what it is. She does not care about what you're going through. And the problem is when it comes to Kyle, it seems like she does that with everybody. Every single person on this show, her problems come first. We've never really seen her show up for a friend that was in need. Obviously, we saw, after Dorit's break-in, she still showed up, but she didn't seem like she was a good shoulder to cry on. Kyle's just a terrible friend across the board. Maybe she doesn't have any friends. Maybe she doesn't want any friends. Maybe that's what it is. That's what I'm going to now.
I mean, it's hard not to. And like, again, can we take into account that she's going through a lot? Absolutely. Watching those scenes with her at home alone, it's sad.
Yeah.
Mo's gone. The kids are moving out of the house. Like, yeah, you're going through a lot. And maybe that is showing itself in you being cut off and not being a good friend to people. But it furthers the point when you see her having this very intimate friendship with Morgan Wade, who she just met. And now people that have been close to you for years are like, yo, what the fuck? You're confiding in this random person. What about me? It would make you question your friendship and it would make you feel a type of way. And no, Kyle doesn't owe people an explanation for the Morgan Wade situation. Like we've gotten to that point and that's fair. But at the same time, you do owe an explanation to your friends as to, hey, this is just me now, or hey, I'm going in a different direction, or don't just discredit your entire friendship with somebody because you've potentially outgrown it. That's okay if you've outgrown it and moved on, but you owe them a conversation. You owe them some real answers, much more so than 3 different reasons that you're pissed off at him. One being BravoCon, one being her talking about your separation, and one being whatever. That's my point. I can't even remember and list all 3 of them off because it's so confusing.
We've been talking about it for like 6 or 7 minutes.
I know.
I actually completely forgot that we were still recapping because I don't even know where the hell we are in the episode. And we've just been talking and trying to wrap our heads around why Kyle and Dorit are not friends.
Yeah.
And we can't figure it out. And we're just talking in circles at this point.
Yeah. And she, Kyle's talking to Sutton during this scene and says, I don't miss her. She's just not nice. I'm like, you're not nice. She's giving you what you give to her. And then she drops that she lacks accountability and self-awareness. I'm like, bruh, like that's you. You can't live in this glass house, man. Like, come on. But Erika sees both sides. And I think we do too, to some extent. Not seeing both sides as in Kyle's in the right, but seeing both sides. No. I get why Kyle's where she's at. I get why Dorit where she's at. but Erika says it flat out. Bose agrees. You're both going through some serious shit
Yeah.
individually. And it's so shockingly similar because of the money, because of the public eye. And yeah, Mo has more money than PK. PK, big question mark. They're selling their house, got foreclosed on. But these are such similar situations that you guys could have this great friendship and confide in one another, lean on each other to get through it. And maybe Kyle's too shut off to be able to do that. But Erika recognizing it, Bose, who's brand new to this group, recognizing it, like it makes a lot of sense why you guys are butting heads. But at the same time, it makes no sense because you would think that you could connect on this. You're going through the same goddamn thing.
They are. And I guess it's really hard to maintain a friendship while you're going through the exact same thing if it's that difficult. Maybe that's all of it.
I don't know.
Man.
But Dorit opens up.
Please move on.
Yeah, we can, because Dorit opens up a little bit more about PK. And this is when I really started to feel bad for her, especially considering, and we shouldn't play the hindsight game because we talk about what we get on TV. We try not to deviate too much from that. Obviously, we put our psychology hat on every now and then.
Sure.
But hearing that this whole thing with PK has been going on for so long, and she says, because of the drinking, when we get in a fight, he would leave. I'm like, oh, that's really sad. For weeks, I'm like, whoa, that was the reason of those trips, was because you guys fought and he went to London for 3 weeks.
And they were hiding that, like, to the point that we didn't even realize that's what was going on. We just assumed he was going over there for work. And then, obviously you could see between the lines and say, oh, maybe he's getting away from his marriage and he doesn't want to deal with it. If it was because they were getting into fights and he would just leave for weeks, that's fucking insane. And it points to all of the facts that we're now getting from the two of them when they sit down a little bit later, when they're talking to each other individually. We find out, they're having horrid fights, and it's resulting in PK leaving and going to London for weeks. That's insane.
That's insane. That's insane. I don't care how bad the fight is. Like, you're leaving your kids, dude. You're leaving your. I will get into that much more later. I thought,
very different episode than last week when we were saying that Dorit needed to get ahead of this, and she was making some mistalk, misspeaking, whatever you want to put it. Yeah, no, very different.
Good. Yeah, she's good now.
Yeah,
but you get a scene with Erika, Jane, and Sutton and Kathy, and they're going over to Kyle's, and this is wild to me. This is wild. And it's not, it shouldn't be, considering Mo's behavior on social media and just in public. He replaced a picture of Kyle and Mo on his desk with a picture of him and his Dancing with the Stars partner.
Did he move out though?
I think this was before. That's what it sounded like. It was on his desk. Yeah, like it was on his desk, which is fucking bizarre. And like, we saw them holding hands going to dinner together during the filming of Dancing with the Stars. It's just a weird dig to take at your wife who you're not divorced from yet.
Yep.
Especially your kids are in the house. Like, I don't know. I didn't like it at all. And I don't like Mo anymore based on his behavior since he's been quote unquote single. Mo has been just baffling to me. It screams midlife crisis. Kathy doing the reenactment of the Instagram photos is fucking amazing. And I'm sad that Kyle didn't take, I get it. And I'm not saying she needs to make light of it because she's going through it still and still loves Mo. So I get it. But that was fucking funny. And then it flashes over to him literally flexing his forearm. Like, that's not a great pose, dude. But hey, he's going through something. It's bizarre. And I'm not, there's no sympathy for me. I think it's brutal to watch as well.
You know what I just realized? That photo is the photo that last season when they had that really uncomfortable situation in his office and we're like, what the hell's going on here?
The kiss thing?
They kissed and like weird. And then it just kind of zoomed in on that picture.
Oh, yeah. That was the picture. Yep. On the desk. Yeah. Imagine going in there and seeing Mo with the Dancing with the Stars lady. Like, that would be horrible. It's crazy. It's fucking nuts. But I really appreciated, like, we can separate the two, Kyle's a shitty friend, but going through it and watching them go over with like PJ pizza party, let's get our girl, like, that was nice. It was a nice scene.
It was.
She opens up a little bit more about what's going on with her and Mo, and again the sentiment is just be prepared, just get your shit together. So if this does go south, I get that you claim you're not the norm. I get that you don't think it's going to be bad. You built this together. It's in his book or whatever. As Sutton says, I don't think a book holds up in court. Just get your shit together so that you're okay. And that's, I hope, what Kyle can gain from this and from these women showing up for her is what it takes to be a good friend. Like, these are nice moments. These are what friends do for each other. They come over unannounced because they know you're going through it, and they have a pizza pajama party. So I hope that she can get that and this sticks. I'm not hopeful because, again, what you said earlier is probably the base of it all. Her problems supersede everyone else's problems.
Yep.
They're more important. So I think that I hope, you know what, I'm not even going to speculate. I hope that she can take from this scene, maybe I need to implement this into my life as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, I never in my wildest imagination, maybe 2 years ago, would have imagined the three of them going over to Kyle's house to talk about something this
Yeah.
heavy. You've got Erika and Sutton getting together, being friends.
That's
They obviously
crazy.
went through crazy divorces. Then Kathy's also there, and everybody's getting along, and they're just trying to get through to Kyle to actually understand what she's going through and give her some advice. That
Mhm.
is a insane scenario to me. 2022. 2024, I'm like, oh, this is actually a really nice scene. I like this. And you know what? We also didn't get dragged down by, all right, so what's going on with Dorit? Like, yes, there's a couple of comments, but we didn't have to get super into it, thankfully, because I'm not tired of it because I know we're going to get more. I need the two of them to talk together.
Yeah.
But talking around, especially from Kyle's perspective, we're not getting anything. We're not going to get anything anyway. We need to understand where she is because we didn't get any of that last year. So we're still playing catch up.
Yes, 100%. But all in all, nice scene. I'm glad that she's got support. I know it's tough what she's going through. So that part's nice. And like I said,
Yeah.
we can separate her friendship with Dorit
Definitely.
from what she's going through. But speaking of Dorit, we get to the last scene and we get a carcass out order, which first of the season, we'll keep track. That's number 1. We'll see how many carcasses we end up. We'll see what her body bag is at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what was going to happen in
Nope.
this scene. And as we said last week, when we were saying, you know, we hope that Dorit gets her shit together as far as get ahead of things with this divorce or separation.
Optics.
We did say we're not PK fans and we didn't want that to get lost. This scene is why.
Yep.
For me, at least. Like, this is exactly why I made sure to make that statement. I'm not a big PK guy. The first thing he does, she comments on his wardrobe. He got all new clothes and he stands up and goes, oh, single PK. You guys have been separated for 24 to 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Not the time. This is the first time you're coming together to discuss where you're at, where you're going, what your future is.
Yep.
And you're making single jokes. Terrible start. Immediately I'm like, oh, this is how it's going to go. Good. Actually, I want him to paint himself as who he truly is.
Yeah.
And her try to come to terms with it. As they start talking about it more, he starts talking about his alcoholism and he admits, you know, this is much worse than I thought it was. And I'm glad he stated this. This is true. Alcohol is the symptom, not the cause. That's what we alcoholics use to deal with our shit. It's finding out what's going on. That's what changes things. But he's talking about what the split was. Like, where did it get so messy? And it's communication at the end of the day, how they talk to each other, what they say to each other. Things got pretty low there at the end where they started cussing. It started out, what did you say? We started out, it would be an argument, but we were respectful. Then we started cussing. Then we started to go low. And that's when shit got really, really messed up. From what I'm seeing out of Dorit, she's questioning, trying to understand. She's trying to figure out where they stand right now. Where are we going? Are we going to be able to work this out? How are you feeling, PK?
Yeah.
What I got from PK this entire scene is I'm already done with this. I'm over it. I don't care anymore. I want to get divorced from you. I want to get separated as fast as humanly possible and live my own life, much as I've been doing for the past 2 years anyway, by going to London for 3 weeks at a time because we got into a fight, by leaving my kids with you for 3 to 4 weeks at a time because I didn't feel like dealing with it. He wants out. That's all I see.
Yeah, that's all I can see on my end too. And it's honestly, it reminds me of like a high school relationship. The guy breaks up with the girl and then immediately after is so excited to be single again. Just completely moves on, tries to downplay all of the things that are going on. Dorit is sitting there like, whoa, 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 whoa. I just had a full conversation with Bose and Erika saying, you know, we'll see. Hopefully we can prepare something in here. I don't know if it means we get back together, but at least we can understand each other and move forward with our lives because we still have kids together. PK didn't say one thing about the kids. Not one thing. He is focused on moving on. He's focused on communication ending. He's talking about how much they text. And Dorit's like, what do you mean? We text like 5 times a day. We talk 5 times a day about what's going on. No, that's gonna have to stop. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what do you think is happening here that you get to just move on scot-free and just go on with your life? I don't understand any of it. And him walking up, you could tell immediately he has no sense of the gravity of the situation, or he just doesn't give a shit. I'm erring towards not giving a shit. Talking about single PK immediately. And yeah, I appreciate the comments that he made about alcoholism. Sure. The rest of it, he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. You can't sit there and look at that and even say something like, you know, we were married and we're, you know, you're the love of my life and you're my best friend, but we talk to each other terribly. And you're still doing this. He's doing it in a way that is taking blame for both of them, but then putting it back in her court. Yeah. And saying, you know, I figured this out because I've stopped drinking and I've been able to have a clear mind as to what's going on. You're putting it on her that she hasn't figured it out, that she doesn't know what the hell's going on. And that's brutal.
It is. Maybe she didn't make adjustments yet, but she's also reacclimating to sober PK and whatever that was like for years. And especially with you just bouncing again, your response to an argument was to leave for an extended period of time. You would leave your wife and children at home to go gallivant in London and do God knows what. Let's be real here. Like, I'm not too confident in him being on the up and up while he's over there solo for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. And you left her alone to be a mom to your children. Yep. And then you have the balls to say, I used to be your number one and used to be this social, vibrant, busy, you'd come with me everywhere, and now you don't. So you're telling me that you're upset that she no longer pals around with you to parties and she's not a socialite anymore because she's a mother to your fucking kids? This is the worst goddamn argument I have ever heard. You don't get to do that because she doesn't fit your social life anymore because she's growing up and maturing and being a mother and maybe doesn't want to go out to some stupid bar with your stupid fucking friends. I can't imagine the guys that PK hangs out with are a blast.
No,
so yeah,
definitely not. It's James Kennedy's dad.
Exactly. Like, no shot. So you're going to go put this on her that you haven't kept up with me socially. And that's reason enough for us to get separated because I used to be your number one and the spouse should come first even before the kids. Maybe in some areas, but at the same time, somebody has to be present for your children because you're in fucking London for 3 weeks. I think this is the rudest thing that he could have possibly said. This is the same shit that Kyle said to Amanda on Summer House. You used to go out with me. People grow up. People grow up and they mature and they don't want to live that lifestyle anymore. Your job as a spouse is to meet her in the middle and say, okay, that's not your lifestyle anymore, but thank you for being home so I can go out and I can go to London for 3 weeks because we had a fight and I'm not capable of communicating with you because I'm a big fucking baby. So I'm going to leave you to take care of our children, which I'm also putting the emphasis on you being a bad partner to me because you're taking care of the children.
Yep.
It was horrible. And that's when it became quite clear to me, PK does not want to get back together. PK wanted to get divorced a while ago, and now he has an out, and he's grasping onto it for dear life. He's not going to sit there and talk to you and try to come up with a solution because a solution means you guys might still be married. He wants to go to London as long as he wants without worrying about the fact that the wife is still at home, which is still fucking brutal because even if you're divorced, she still has the kids. And like you said, he hasn't mentioned the kids once. The only time he mentioned the kids was the fact that they're taking time away from him and attention from him. How embarrassing. How fucking embarrassing. And then you want to say, I was the global entrepreneur. I took you everywhere. Global entrepreneur, your house is getting foreclosed on. We don't know what the state of your financials are, but I do know your house is getting foreclosed on. That's not a great sign. So you want to act high and mighty and act like you gave her this wonderful life. You gave her everything. And because of that, she has to bend the fucking knee to you because I'm the entrepreneur. You made me feel lesser than. You can say to her, hey, you made me feel lesser than, and have a conversation as to why. Don't be this fucking high and mighty asshole on this imaginary pedestal because your wife doesn't want to go out with you anymore. That's the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard. And he deserves to be alone. On her terms. She should come to some kind of like come to Jesus moment and leave this asshole. Like, get the fuck away. This guy wants to be solo anyway. Let him. It's not going to pan out well. He doesn't look great just because he's quote unquote skinnier now. Trust me, PK in the dating pool will never, ever, ever come close to anybody that looks remotely like Dorit. He's so far outkicked his coverage. He's playing a different fucking sport. And for him to to think that a new wardrobe and no wife means he's going to do well at all. What are you going to say? My house is getting foreclosed on and I'm divorced. My kids are at home with the wife. I haven't seen them in a month because I've been in London. That's not a great pickup line.
No, I think put him in the house with Sandoval, Schwartz, James Kennedy's dad. Yeah, and Sandoval's dad and his friends. Put him in that house. He won't have to worry about getting foreclosed on. He can just go over there and hang out. And it is a stark difference from last week when we were worried that PK was able to get ahead of this optics-wise and talk about actually what happened. And we're like, oh, Dorit, you're talking about him being an alcoholic. Not a great look. PK's talking about your actual problems. People are going to start feeling bad for him if it keeps going this way. No, don't worry about it. He's going to go ahead and undo all of that in one scene.
In 5 minutes, he undid everything and showed us who he truly is and showed us, like, Dorit, I don't know what their ins and outs were in the relationship. Could she be difficult to get along with at times? Yeah, probably.
Sure.
But I do know this. PK looks like shit after this scene. And for him to, like, what was he expecting? That's always my big question for stuff like this. Did you think that we, the audience, were going to see this and be like, oh, man,
I don't think he cared about that. I think it was silly for us to think that he was doing anything like strategically last week, unless Mo told him what to do. Because when he's on his own, he's going to embarrass himself.
Yeah, he just sounds like a misogynistic asshole, honestly. So, Dorit, run for the hills, take his money and run. Seriously, you deserve better. He's a fucking loser. He's a loser. But anyway, let's get to some questions.
From Drew Blackwell photo, is Kyle a hypocrite or is Kyle a hypocrite?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
That's all I gotta say. Yes. From Zoe Kula, what kind of cigs does Dorit smoke? I thought they were someone saw them. Was it American Spirits? It was something raw.
Yeah, it's definitely something like that she thinks is organic, but in reality, it's like
worse for you.
American
Unfiltered
Spirits.
American Spirits. Or I would love its fucking Newports.
Yeah, she saw a TikTok that said that filters actually cause the cancer, so she just decided to go
just
raw.
Unfiltered raw dog. Camel crushes.
Yeah. From J-Bay the Hut 713, do you think the Bows will break the one and done housewife streak? I mean, she will. The streak is one though. It's Anne Marie. Before that, Crystal had a couple of seasons.
Maybe she's alluding
Monica
to
was one and done, but
we've had multiple across platforms.
I can't think of
any. But to answer your question, I think that she's going to be around for a while. She's off to a great start. She's getting involved in asking questions and reacting, but she's not forcing the issue, which is great. And she's also allowing us to get to know her right out of the gate with actual, real, interesting shit.
Yeah.
Not made up bullshit. She's just talking about her life, and her life is awesome. So, yeah, I think she's around for a while.
Yeah.
From Miranda E412, why do you think Morgan doesn't want to be affiliated with the show now? I would imagine because she wants her music career to stand on its own would make the most sense to me.
Yeah, I think so. And people
she's probably tired of the bullshit.
We didn't get a lot of answers last year, but she was on the show in multiple episodes, in multiple scenes. So I don't know. Maybe she just made a decision in the off season.
Yeah, we don't need it anyway. We don't need to keep doing that whole thing. Let's do one more. We'll do two more because one's a statement. Luana_LN. Was Kyle really offended by Dorit's ranking of Kyle and her sister BravoCon? No, she's looking for reasons to be upset.
Yeah,
and that was one that popped into her head, so she said it out loud. And the last one from that girl Courtney. That's her name, not just me saying, "Oh, it's that girl."
Oh, that girl Courtney.
Oh, that girl Courtney. The PK and Dorit meeting was so gaslighting, and the single PK reference was trash. Yes, all of that is true, and we agree. And we should have known better last week. We should just let him go. Let him go. He'll bury himself because he's a piece of shit. Yep. So, all in all, fantastic second episode. It's off to a good start. They've avoided some of the stuff that would cause it to be a bad season so far. They're not rehashing stupid shit, which has been their downfall for years.
Sure
they
has.
Bring up stuff from last season. We're not doing that right now. Stick to the now. And I think we got something here, everybody, which is great. And that could you imagine? We've only had one shit show in the past 6 months.
Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't do it. Easy,
I always
Tiger.
do. I'm an optimist.
I know.
They call me Optimist Prime.
Yes, they do. Everybody does. Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows it. Everyone's talking about it. But yeah, we will be back next week. Don't you worry with all of your shows. We're gonna have a hell of a week thanks to you, pal. You gotta go to Europe.
Yeah. Gotta go gallivant.
You gotta go gallivant overseas, which I'm excited for you, but that means that our week's going to be
I gotta
hectic.
find Little Ben.
You do? Are you going to London? Yeah, where are you going?
London and Amsterdam.
Oh yeah. Please take a picture with Little Ben.
I will.
Put an end to this and ask locals.
Yeah.
Ask the locals. Go to like a dive bar, like go to a really grimy pub. Be like, oi, I'm looking for Little Ben. Why don't you show me Little Ben?
I will. I'll do all of that.
See what they do.
Yeah, that'll go well.
Get the fuck out of here, Yank. You got anything else?
Nope.
Well, bros and shows, that's how it goes. I got to work on my sign off.
Yeah, good sign off.
That's not great. I'll be better.
You'll
Rob
figure it
Bros are out of here.